everybody, this is Chris, and in this video I want to talk a little bit about how you can remember words in a foreign language, how you can learn vocabulary and make it stick in your head, because a problem that a lot of people have when they're learning English is that it's difficult to remember words. You may see a word one day and then forget what it means the next day, and when you have to use it in speech, you forget that word and you can't remember it. So I'm going to run through some ideas and some tips and techniques that you can use to remember words more effectively in English. The first thing I want to mention is why a lot of people forget words in English or another language. And there's a couple of reasons for this. I think number one is because your brain likes to learn through making connections. You often remember where you were when you smelt a smell or when you met a person for the first time. You remember where you were. You connect these things together. You may also remember where you were when you had when you tasted a specific food. Your brain likes to make associations. So when you're learning vocabulary, you need to make these kinds of connections. If you just learn a word from a list, it's very difficult to remember and make those connections. Secondly, people are often learning lists of vocabulary that other people have made, other people's lists. And the problem with this is that these vocabulary lists are not related to your own life and your own studies. That's why it's better to make your own vocabulary lists. So that way you can make more connections, it will be more personal to you, and you can remember them more easily. But in fact, the most natural way to learn English is just by listening to more English and reading more English and not really trying to learn a lot of vocabulary at all. If you are just learning from a list, it's a very unnatural way to learn. So try to choose texts that maybe you understand 60 to 70% of, and when you come across a new word, you can look it up in the dictionary or online and maybe make a note of that word and learn in a more natural way. As you see words more often, you will remember them more effectively, and the act of looking up a word online or in a dictionary will help you to remember it. So it's effective to learn in a more natural way. However, in practice, sometimes you do need to write words down in order to remember them, especially older learners. You may find that it's difficult to just remember words just by looking them up. So you may need to make lists of vocabulary and new words. However, my advice to you would be to not learn just words, but learn full sentences. This will teach you how the words are used. You will remember the context of how that vocabulary is used in a sentence. I recommend that when you write down an example sentence for a new word, you write down at least 2 sentences so you can see how this word is used in different situations. Don't just write down one word. Write down the original sentence where you saw this word and maybe 1 or 2 more sentences. You can find example sentences in a good dictionary, or you can just Google to find example sentences, or you can look in a corpus, which is a collection of different sentences. For example, you can look at the British National Corpus or the American National Corpus. You can just enter a word and find a lot of different sentence examples. And also you can write down some common collocations. This means words that are often used with that piece of vocabulary. For example, don't just learn competition, learn fierce competition. All right? Or take part in a competition. And then you will remember these common usages, common collocations. Don't just learn challenge, learn a serious challenge, and so on. Okay, also you might want to learn the prepositions with a word. For example, remember, this verb is often used with to. Remember to do something. So you could write down, remember to wear a watch. Or interested is often used with interested in. So for example, you could learn, I'm interested in gardening. But if you just learn interested on its own, then you might not know how to use it. You would make mistakes with usages and collocations. So try to learn these useful collocations with the word. Secondly, you can use some spaced repetition systems. We have vocabulary software now that can help you to learn a word. For example, one that I like to use is Anki, A-N-K-I. This is a free piece of software that you can download to your phone or your computer, and you can sync your vocabulary lists between your computer and your phone. And you can also use paper cards if you find it difficult to use computer software. You can use manual cards and flick through the cards. But revision of vocabulary is important. You might think that you can't learn a word the first time and it's very difficult to remember, but if you see it a few more times in different contexts, then you will be able to remember it. You might not remember it even the third time or the fourth time, but probably the fifth time or the sixth time or the seventh time you will remember this word. So keep going. It's really important to look back over words, and that's why vocabulary software or flashcards can be really useful. So I hope that these tips have been helpful to you and will help you to improve your retention of vocabulary in English. If you have any more ideas, anything that has been helpful to you, any techniques, software that you've used or ideas, then please do share them with everybody in the comments. And check out my website. I'm going to write this up in a page on there, and you can read these tips on my site as well. Alright, so don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Like this video, hit the bell icon to get notifications every time I post a new video. And I will see you next time for more tips and techniques for learning English. See you later, everybody.